September 3rd, 1939, 2 days after the invasion of Poland, starting the Second World War, Prime Minister Robert Menendez announced the beginning of Australia's involvement in the Second World War on every single radio station in Australia. On the 31st of January 1941, Australian troops fought the first land battle in the Second World War on the Liberian coast. The 6th Division captured Tobruk from the fascist Italians on the 21st and 22nd of January 1941. The town ended up becoming a garrison for British and Australian troops in 1941. In early 1941, Adolf Hitler ordered his best and most trusted general at the time, Erland Eugen Rommel, over to Africa with his Afrika Korps, the 21st Panzer Division, as well as a small group of the 7th Panzer Division, also known as the Gulf Division, came to aid the Italian allies in Liberia. By April, the German forces had begun to cut off and around Tobruk for 8 months.
We will resist and fight hard, 'cause we are all inside.
From April to December 1941, it was besieged by Australian forces from including the 8th Division and Brigade of the 7th Division and round ships dubbed the Scrap Iron Flotilla by German propaganda played a prominent role in the defence of Tobruk. 41 was a very dark year for the Allies. The Germans had conquered all but Tobruk. Tobruk held out against Erland Eugen Rommel, or just Erland Rommel, and his Afrika Korps. And the boldness of the defenders of Tobruk raised morale in the countries of the British Empire and the British Commonwealth. For all those who served and soon became known the Rats of Tobruk, was one German radio propaganda broadcaster, Lord Hoch, described them as rats living in the ground. Devi's name was adopted as the badge of honour by the defenders of Tobruk, the Aussies. During Australia's involvement in the Second World War, most of it was in Al Alamein. 3 major battles took place in and around Al Alamein, Egypt, between July and November 1942, with the Australian 9th Division playing a key role in 2 of these battles. Rommel forced the Allies back into Egypt from Tobruk and captured Cairo and the Suez Canal. The capture of the Suez Canal seemed very, very real to the Allies by this point. Moved from a defensive position near Al Alamein, and several months later of intense fighting followed from August until the end of October. The Allied army grew steadily in strength, and on the 2nd of November, General Rommel had to order a withdrawal. The 9th Division left in Egypt. The Australians in January 1943, just before Field Marshal Erland Rommel left Africa back to Europe to fight Stalingrad.
Yeah, hello lads. Yeah, I'd like to apologise. I realised amidst editing I actually got that wrong. He didn't go to Stalingrad or Moscow or even go to Russia. He went to Normandy to prepare naval defences and so forth and so such. But the 7th Panzer Division, or the Ghost Division, did go to Russia to go fight, and that's why I got a little bit confused, and I apologise. I'll explain a little bit more at the end of this video, if you understand, right? Alright, thank you everyone, onto the video.
He said these about the Australians and New Zealanders soldiers. If I had to take hell, I would use the Australians to take it and the New Zealanders to hold it. If I had 1 division of Maori, I would have taken the canal in a week. If I had 3, I would have taken Baghdad. Give me a Maori battalion and I will conquer the world. With the sun at their backs, our units fought their way forward through the south to north, as far as the area between the roads and railways, where the attack came to a halt. Fierce fighting with the Australians, whom we knew only too well from the time of the Brook siege and the last well into the night. On the moonlight night of the 22nd of January, the Australians attacked again, this time barrage strength. Their objective, the German line west of Alamein, Jupiter, the Restrak. The assembly had been made in secrecy, and the assault, which had been predicted by violent RAF bombing attack, constantly achieved a considerable measure of surprise. Despite the curtain of fire which was once put down by the German and Italian artillery, the Australians succeeded in penetrating our front and wiping out the greater part of German battalion. However, a dashing counterattack by the combat group Berlech, the 3rd Reconnaissance Regiment, and Kampfstaffel Kirch, sorry if that's wrong, eventually smashed into the Australian wedge and threw the enemy back to their own line with heavy losses. This isn't the only famous event Australians took place in the Second World War. Some of them were so close to home. For example, the Papua New Guinea campaign, or the Canada Trail, or even the Battle for Australia, which, yes, was a real thing. That might be a different video if I ever get around to it. Battle of Australia. But once again, that's for a different video. Now, what are the other things us Aussies did in the Second World War? Well, you may not know this, but have you ever heard of this thing called June 6, D-Day? Well, you may think of America, Canada, and Britain. But here's something I bet you didn't know. 90% of the RAF on D-Day, or I should say RAF, most of the aircraft on D-Day were flown by Australian pilots, involving Spitfires, B-29s, P-54, P-51s, P-54s, the whole lot of it.
On the 6th of June, on the shores of Western Europe, 1944, D-Day upon us.
On June 6, 1944, Operation Neptune occurred. This was the largest naval landing and the largest aerial operation in history, even to this day. The Americans, Canadians, and British landing on the beaches of Normandy. With the RAF, USAF, but there is one country which is forgotten which played a massive role. That's right, the Royal Australian Air Force, the RAAF, which held some 3,000 pilots on that day, which was just over a quarter of the Air Force. The RAAF flew in multiple types of aircraft during Operation Neptune, which included the Lancaster, B-29, F-2A, Boomerang, a Kangaroo, and surprisingly, a German plane which was captured, a Donner 24. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Hurricanes and Spitfires. The young men of the RAAF helped push the British and Americans and Canadians into Nazi-occupied France. This sudden attack on Normandy forced the Field Marshal in command, Erwin Eugene Rommel, seeing a pattern now, I think, to rush back to France to help his troops get in line and push back the Allies, because the day before D-Day, Operation Neptune, he would gone back to Germany to celebrate his wife's birthday. But a different video, one about Rommel himself. Now, get back in line and push back, but as we know it did not work. The RAAF, USSA, and the RCAF and the RAF bombarded the way for the army to push through to France like the Germans did in 1940. Same tactic, Blitzkriegen, or in English, lightning war.
As fast as lightning, there's no time to mourn. A glimpse of the future, and Blitzkrieg is born. Strike at 0 hour.
Now, this is not, and I'll make this completely honest, this is not the first video I will make on stuff like this. There's a lot I am planning on doing for this series, the Forgotten History series. There's going to be, well, this episode about the Aussies, well, my fellow countrymen. There's going to be, the next one is going to be about Rommel and the 7th Panzer Division, Ghost Division. And then I haven't really decided in between the next 2 or 3. I've got a few in mind, being the Hitler bloodline or the Adolf bloodline, the true mission or the true idea for World War II, and a few others like the beginning of the SAS and stuff like that. So, if for some reason you do find me talking here with my lovely microphone and talking to you fine people or person or whomever I am talking to, you enjoy learning about a reasonable amount about history, and you don't want to listen to some yobbo who, went to uni and is actually intelligent, you can watch me, someone who's spent a good few weeks on the script and doing the research for this episode. Now, I do want to make it clear, not everything I said in this episode could be 100% factual. So do not take my 100% word for it. Stuff like the battle in Alamein and in Normandy, that is being proven to be correct, but everything in between, you probably have to just make sure it is correct, because me personally, we're all human. Humans make mistakes, it's simple. So, that's the end of this questionable video. If you, like I said, if you enjoy this and you want to see more history related videos, of course you can subscribe, which is lovely because I'm nearing 200. I'd love to get that before my birthday, which, if I'm not wrong, is not very, still, it's pretty soon. So if I'm able to somehow get six subscribers in next, 40 days, I might do something a little bit special. Now, like I said, thank you everyone for watching, and like I said, if you enjoyed history, please, follow and like, comment what type of event you want me to do next. In line after I do Rommel, and I'll think about it, do some research, and write a script, and come up with a video. Thank you for watching.
Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, if you think we're on the run? We are the boys who will stop your little game. We are the boys who will make you think again. 'Cause who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, if you think old England's done? Mr. Brown goes off to town on the A21, but he comes home each evening and he's ready with his gun. So who do you think you are